Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ralph Sabansky. I'm a photography enthusiast from Toronto, Canada. I don't do this professionally, but I am pretty passionate about photography and I've been doing it for many years. Along the way, I've learned a lot of tips and tricks on how to shoot photos, how to post-process photos, and I want to share those things with you. Hey guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how to take an image from your camera, a raw image, and turn it into a nice piece of work, and then take it a step further and give it that HDR look to really make it pop. Okay guys, today we're going to take an image that I shot back in the fall here in Toronto, just at a local park, and for the longest time when I shot images, I couldn't figure out why I had this expensive camera with some of the best lenses you can buy, and yet they weren't anything special. I thought maybe composition was the problem, so I studied on that as much as I could, and I did learn a lot about composition, but that still didn't give me the wow in the images that I kind of expected, which is when I really started looking at post-processing, and I figured out that 50% of your image is the way you shot it. The other 50 is how you processed it. And I mean, some would say this is an okay picture, but I don't think anybody's going to go wow with it. Whereas when we process it a little bit, we didn't change anything, we didn't Photoshop anything, we just enhanced this image, and all of a sudden it's the look that was actually more realistic in real life than what the camera was able to shoot. Over here it looks dull, that the leaves aren't very vibrant, whereas after processing it, it looks much better. Then I'm going to show you how to take it even a step further and give it that HDR look, that high dynamic range look that everybody seems to like a lot. Not everybody knows how to shoot it, and I'm not going to teach you how to shoot HDR today at least, but I'll show you a way to cheat so you don't actually have to shoot HDR to make it look like HDR. So let's get going. I'm going to start with this image here, and if you watched my last tutorial, I kind of showed you how to process this stuff. So if you didn't see it, please take a look. I'm not going to go as in-depth as I did in the last one because I just want to make it quicker and really focus on how to make that HDR part work. So I'm going to do my usual, all the way down with the highlights, all the way up with the shadows. I'm going to find my white point here, which is about there, and I'm holding Option key down just to mask everything so I can see the highlights and lowlights appear and disappear. So there are my white and dark points. I'm going to bring up the clarity by about 20. This is what I do most of my landscape pictures. My vibrance about 8 or 9. I'm going to leave the colors alone for now. Then I'm going to sharpen this thing. And remember the rule of the 100, and then whatever you do in noise reduction. So in this case, I'm going to do, I think about 10 is enough. So I'm going to subtract that and make that 90. Then I'm going to mask it by holding my Option key down again and seeing what's actually being sharpened. And if I let go of the Option key, I can kind of toggle back and forth. And I think that's about the sharpening I want. I'll zoom in, take a closer look to make sure there's no noise. And that's 3 to 1. Let's go 1 to 1. I think that's okay. Then I'll do my lens corrections, enable profile corrections, remove. I'm going to hit auto. Most likely it's not going to do much for this image. Didn't seem to do anything at all, so I'm just going to leave it off. If it doesn't do anything, I just leave it off. And then I'm going to change my camera calibrations to landscape, which I tend to favor. I like to toggle through and just see if portrait or standard offers anything nicer. I don't see a huge difference. I think I'll just go with my usual landscape. Then I will do the exposures. Just a quarter of a stop under. Maybe give it a little more contrast, just a little bit. I'm going to take a look at the colors. Remember, I'm trying to get a fall look. I don't want it to be too cold or too warm. So that's obviously too warm. I think I'm about there. And maybe give a little more magenta. Okay, that's great. Now we can actually look at our colors because we want to enhance some of the reds and yellows. I'm going to go into hue, and again, pick yellow, bring it up. It also brings the greens up just a little bit. Then I'm going to find my orange. That's going yellow, so I'm going to go the other way. And just bring out the reds. I'm still not satisfied with my yellow, so okay, I think I'm okay, and maybe let's see if we can do anything with the greens. No, they look too alive. We actually want them to look more fall-like. So about there, just going under a little bit. Now I can look at my saturation and just change it slightly. I don't like to oversaturate things. Some will say I probably do anyways, but I try to keep myself under wraps when it comes to saturation because it's really easy to overdo. Okay, I think I like where that was going. So if we go before and after, we've got ourselves a pretty good difference here. And then I'm going to go to my gradient tool here. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm just going to pull down. And I like to create that depth. So I want to see the depth in here. That's the furthest away object that's furthest away in this image. So I'm going to darken this almost a stop and a half, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to darken it up to roughly there. Lighten this one just a little bit. Now let's take a look. Okay, so that definitely gave us some depth. Okay. Now we can definitely brush this thing. Let's bring our brush down and let's boost up our clarity a little bit. And I'm going to brush just over the branches here. Okay, and if you want to take a look, you can click right here and it'll show you your mask. And now I just want to bring up that clarity a little bit. And I want to lighten these things, not too much, but just, yeah, so it's almost the way I shot it actually. Whereas I darkened everything else. My contrast, no, I don't have to overdo it. Okay, so if we take a look at what I had, my colors were a little different. I'm not actually aiming to get it exactly the same as my original one. I think this is all just down to taste, so I almost like what I did better with this one. It's a little more realistic, I think. It's always nice to walk away, come back an hour later, go eat a sandwich or something, come back, and once you see it again, you'll notice where you went wrong. It's hard to see when you're staring at it for too long. But anyways, let's go to step 2 of this. So I'm going to right-click this image. I'm going to edit in Photoshop. Now, I don't actually want to do anything in Photoshop. I can do a ton of stuff in here, and I'll show you Photoshop tutorials in the future, but right now I don't want to do anything. All I want is the TIFF. So I'm going to hit Command W. I'm going to save this image. It's going to close it. And I'm going to go back in the Lightroom.
And in Lightroom, it's going to auto-populate itself. I'm going to hit Option, and I'm going to reset my tone. So this way, if I compare it to my raw file that I just exported into Photoshop and brought right back in, the only difference is now it's a TIFF. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that original. I'm going to hit Command-C, and I'm going to copy all of these settings. Well, maybe not all of them. I'm going to get rid of some of the things. So I don't need to crop, no spot removal, no lens correction because I've already done that. The effects, vignetting grain I don't need. Local adjustments, brushes, gradients, I don't need either. So basically it's taking the basics, the tones, the sharpening, actually even the color I don't want in this case. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go in here, I'm going to hit Command V, and I'm going to paste it. Now it turned a little too magenta for me, so I'm going to turn this down right here. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. My exposure doesn't need to be underexposed. I can bring it back up a little bit. My contrast, I can bring it, it's about right, I think. Let's just double check our white and dark points. So it did shift a little bit. So I'll change that. I'll change that. And my clarity is good, my vibrance. Let's bring the clarity a little more. Okay, we sharpened again. My lens correction, I don't actually have to do anything. That's why I didn't copy it, because it was already done in the original image. My camera calibration is already embedded, so I don't need that either. Detail sharpening, it resharpened again, so it's almost like a double sharpening. And now my hue and saturations, let's just toggle on and off and see which one looks better. I think this new one looks kind of nice, actually. Maybe a little too much magenta, so I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to click over some magenta, and I'm going to just push it up a little bit. And there we go. Now, I'm going to do my gradient thing again, or at least give it a try. It's going down just a little bit. I don't need to boost the clarity. That's great. So here's our HDR-ish image. If I go to our before image and I go to our after image, you notice there's a lot more detail in here in the branches and so forth, and I didn't actually bracket anything.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked that video. Please hit like so I know that these things are useful to you, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll have many more to come. See you guys soon.